Who remembers the BJ and Bill show all those years ago on WOLZ? Well, many have said they missed the show, and guess what? They're back. Welcome to the BJ and Bill podcast.
Welcome to BJ and Bill, the podcast, a part of the Podcast Playground Network, where we ask you to review, my friend. The 5-star rating would, well, that just tickle us pink. I'll tell you right now. You can do that on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your favorite podcast. And can't believe it, but we are on episode 87.
Is that a magic number for you or something? Or
no, it's just 87 sounds like a big number.
It's a huge number. Yes, it is. It's crazy. It's and then I was reminded, I was driving the other day listening to somebody else's podcast and they were on like 400 and something. I'm like, oh, well, then there's those guys.
Yeah.
we get for us. That's awesome.
We have a ways to go with that, I guess.
But still, 87 is awesome.
And now I'm going to have to get used to saying, welcome to episode 1. As I kicked off my brand new podcast, today being Wednesday, the day that we drop will be the first day of my new podcast. If you'd like to give it a listen, it's called The Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast.
That is beautiful. Congratulations, my friend. Is it actually going to drop?
Yep.
Okay.
It's all ready to drop on Wednesday, May the 1st, which, that is the day that our podcast is dropping, but we're dropping, episode 87. I'll be dropping epised 1 of the new one. But
I need to get my butt in gear because our friend, and certified hypnotherapist, as we say, Ms. Vicki Wagner, who's been on the show with us a couple of times, she and I are working on one as well. And we have like 5 or 6 in the can. And yours truly hasn't gotten off his butt to get them released through the fabulous Podcast Playground just yet. So, yeah, we'll be ready to drop a bunch of them when that comes. So, yeah, we're working.
We have 2 in the can, but
okay,
I'm only going to drop the first one Wednesday, today, right. And the second one will be the following Wednesday. And then this Thursday, I'll be interviewing my third guest, who, believe it or not, is an Nashville record rep.
And has had experience, or should we say has had an experience in the transplant business, or what's his
yes,
story?
He has a liver transplant.
Wow.
His name is Al Brock.
Okay.
And believe it or not, before, I don't know about Bill, you might have been in town before, but before I went to Naples, he was in Naples a little bit before me and worked at WRGI G93. I mean, I'm talking blue moons ago.
Way back machine.
But then he went on to I think he might even worked in New York for a while. Right now he's in Nashville doing records, and he also works at one of the Nashville country radio stations part-time.
Very nice. So you'll be interviewing him.
Yeah, talking all about livers. I never really talked to a person with a liver transplant. So that'll be interesting. And you don't need like a whole liver. If you get if you get a liver transplant, you can have like a little piece of a liver.
Like a chunk?
Yeah. And then that liver will grow.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Why can't we do that with a heart? Just take a few heart cells and regrow. Well, you kind of need it. It's kind of important to have the whole thing.
So that'll be an interesting conversation coming up in a few weeks with Al Brock. So can't wait to do that. That is awesome.
Good for you. Well, see, that only convinces me more that I need to get my butt in gear and get going on this one that I'm working on. So thank you for the kick in the ass.
Hey, you're welcome anytime.
I know. Boy, thanks.
I need to give you a kick in the ass this morning. I was like a little old lady. So, we normally record our podcasts around 10 o'clock on, Monday mornings. And at 10 o'clock, I say, hey, I'll be ready in 10 minutes. And I wait.
Nothing.
And I wait.
Nothing.
And nothing. So I'm going, this isn't like Billy. At least usually says it's going to be, like a little bit. I got to make my breakfast. I got to do this, but I'll be there. It was like nothing.
Crickets.
And then I sent a second one. Took a while to get a response. And by the time I did get a response, I was like that little old lady going, oh my God, what has happened to Bill? Was he in an accident last night? Did he need a transplant? What happened to Bill?
I'm here.
He was just needing his butt kicked because he was sleeping in because he's on the road, people.
I am on the road today as I record it. And if it sounds a little bit different, that's why. But normally I'm using my big fancy microphone, but I'm in a very echoey. This would be a bad radio studio, the room I'm in. So I'm trying to keep my voice down a little bit, just a little bit.
Oh, is there people sleeping?
Because it's a little echoey, but it's okay.
Is there people sleeping where you are? Are you in someone's house?
There might be.
Are you in a hotel?
A house with, no, it's a house with some friends. And yeah, we were up late last night chatting and partying. And well, I don't partying. I'm old too. I'm an old guy. I don't party. But we were up late chatting and, you know, watching some movies and stuff like that on Netflix. And so, yeah, there might be some sleeping in going on. I'm not saying, but there could be.
I was up early this morning.
Wow.
What's
early for BJ Odom?
About 8 o'clock.
Okay.
I was up early. Wasn't up at 4 a.m. like that, but I used to wake up every morning at 4 like you to do that morning radio show.
Yep.
But you know what I had on the on the old, speaker from Alexa. I don't want to say it too loud. From Alexa.
Alexa. Oh, okay. Yeah. There's one in this room too. Yeah. Shh.
Oh, okay. See, okay. I don't want to say her name too loud because then she starts asking questions and I'm just not ready to answer at this time.
So you were up at 8 a.m.
and I had her playing. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
I had her playing music from my bestie.
Which is?
Peter Noone.
We're kind of stuck on him these days, aren't we, Peter Noone?
He's like the girlfriend that broke up with me that I just can't seem to I can't get over her.
Can't get her out of your head.
And like an idiot, I'm going to go see her tonight and she probably won't even notice me. And, because Disney is one of those parks that do not allow you to sell swag. And when I talk about swag, I'm talking about merch. And, Peter Noone was always the guy who, after the show,
yes,
would sit there, sign CDs, and meet every person who wanted to meet him.
So what are the odds but is this another one of those Disney shows where it's like 2 in one night back to back?
It's 3 in one night. They do 3 shows in a night. He was there last night.
Wow.
And we didn't go.
Okay.
But we're going tonight. But, they're walked in by security and there's 3 or 4 entrances they can go into.
Right.
I know when my daughter tries to go meet one of her favorite, boy bands, she says, I never know which way they're going in, which way they're coming out. And of course, there's always security around them. Every once in a while, though, she's met a few usually, and she meets those in like they go to one of the resorts and stay and, go to one of the night spots in the resort.
Yes.
And sometimes they will show up there.
Oh. So you're going to at least make an effort, or what's your plan here?
I'm going to go to the show.
Okay.
And I don't know if I'll go to all 3 shows because I think the first show is like at 4:30 and the second show is they're like 90 minutes apart. They're 30-minute shows.
He's going to do the same set.
Well, no, they don't.
Oh, really?
Because the sets there are only 30 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So usually what they do, like if they have a big, gigantic song,
right,
they usually, close with that, every set.
Right.
But they mix up the sets.
Wow.
So, if you go to all 3, like my daughter is really into Joey Fatone, and there has been times that I've went to all 3 Joey Fatone shows in the same night.
Right.
And I mean, I've seen him bring his dad up. I've seen his, bring his daughters up. His show is pretty much different, all 3 shows. And he brings friends with him too, So it's, you never know who he's going to bring with him. Sometimes it's somebody from NSYNC. Sometimes it's, one of his other friends. And
right.
So it's one night it was Murr from the Practical Jokers.
Murr. Oh, from the TV show? I don't watch that, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so he was even there one night and
wow,
up on stage singing a song with him. So, a lot of the artists come in and they do 3 different shows. So who knows what because, Herman's had a ton of hits.
Oh my gosh, that's what I'm saying. How could you even? I was thinking the set would be an hour. You're saying a half hour. What are you going to do? I mean, you could play 3 completely different sets.
Yeah, and that's probably what he'll do.
Of hits. Yeah.
And,
finish with, what do you finish with?
I'm saying Henry VIII, maybe. I think that might have been his biggest.
Mrs. Brown, you've got a lovely daughter.
That's another one. That's another good one.
Yeah.
Wow. Listen, I don't think it's a closer, but
it's not much of a closer, no.
People. And that's been singing in my head now the rest, this morning since I turned off the.
So Peter Noone is occupying space, unrented, unpaid space in your brain. Yeah.
Yes. Wow.
That's awesome.
It would be great though if I just somehow passed him and said, Hey, I know you don't remember me.
No.
But like 20 some years ago, I was with my morning radio partner, Bill Stevens. We had you on the radio 2 or 3 times. One day we hung out with you the whole day.
Right.
I thought we were like the best of friends. And now I can't even get your agent to even have you return a phone call to me, your best friend, the man I thought, that we were going to go on into eternity as besties. But no, you can't even show me a time of day, Peter Noone.
He's going to just go, security, take him away. Take him. Guards, like the old, every old King movie you've ever seen. Guards, take him away.
I know I would say, hey, interviewed you many. I would say very, I wouldn't do the crying that I'm doing now. I would try to put an upper lip to it, Say,
try.
Hi, Mr. Noone. You remember me? I'm BJ. I had a radio show with Bill Stevens, and you hung out with us a couple times. One time for a whole day, and we do a podcast. Yeah, and we do a podcast. Love to have you on the podcast. And you'd say, sure, just call my agent. I have called your agent. They won't let me talk to you.
So much for talking to stars. That's awesome.
It's I guess, I this is a clean podcast, so I can't say the word, but his agent is a blocker. You know what I know? Remember when you were in high school and you wanted that girl, but there was that blocker that was in the way that wouldn't let you get to her? Same thing. He's got a blocker.
I never thought of it in terms of high school girlfriends, but now that you mention it, yeah, I suppose so.
It's always called the C blocker.
Oh, really?
Think anatomy. Think anatomy below the belt.
I hear what I'm picking up what you're putting down, as The Rock used to say. But
he's got a C blocker going on. It's his agent.
Never heard that. I'm going to be honest with you. Never heard that term. Thank God. Now it's going to be stuck with me. Great. Okay.
I'll be singing Peter Noone songs, and you'll be thinking about C blockers the rest of the day.
It sounds like something you take for your heart. That's all I'm saying.
I know, yeah. Those are beta blockers. Those are B blockers.
Not coronary blockers for a C.
So how much basketball did you watch over the weekend?
All of it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I watched almost all of it. I didn't stay up late for the Phoenix game. Did they play too?
Yeah, I think they're done now.
I think they got swept by Minnesota. So I did not watch that last game. I watched my Cavaliers get their butts handed to them. How much of a clean podcast is this? Can I say the Cleveland Cavaliers got their asses handed to them?
Yeah, you can say that.
I can say that. Okay, good. Cleveland Cavaliers got their asses handed to them at the Kia Center by Orlando, by the Magic, and it was not pretty. And I did not enjoy it, but it was the first game Saturday, and it just hooked me for the day. So that's all I'm saying.
I will say this too. The Magic have a very good record at home.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, they couldn't beat, my team, the Warriors, when they were in town. So the Warriors won that game, but, they didn't do very good in the play-in tournament.
Right. And then I watched Miami. Also, it was a pretty good game. Got beat by Boston, but hey, there's something about, and Charles Barkley mentioned this on Inside the NBA. You know, you got to watch TNT for our man Shaq and Charles and all that. But Barkley mentioned it, and he says that heat, what they say, heat culture, that heat culture, that's a real thing. They're serious. They're in every game. I don't care if you're playing Boston, the quote unquote best team in the NBA this year. We don't care. We're here. Let's play. And they show up and they give it 110% every game. No Jimmy Butler, doesn't matter. We're giving it 110%, and you guys are going to have to win this game. And I love that. I would be a bigger fan if I were like closer to Miami or something. I should just be a bigger fan anyway. I think they're just terrific. You know, they got Jimmy Butler and Strus and Adebayo and all that. So they have some names, but it's not like, you know, it's not like LeBron names. It's not like these, you know, A-rated, AAA rated stars. They're awesome. They fight. I love it.
LeBron has definitely showed up for this tournament, even though they didn't get swept. You know, we got to game 4 and they pulled off a win.
Right.
But LeBron is, you know, as much as people dog LeBron, as much as people call him a baby, that boy can ball.
Yes. Yeah. Well,
and at his age, he can ball.
And I think that's the point. It's not the point, but I think I hate to say you have to give the guy some credit, or you have to give him some space, or the guy's been around. He's played for 20 years or more. And it's like, oh my God. I mean, he made that one call. I don't know if you saw it, but he made a call on the sidelines. He didn't make the call. I mean, the ball went out of bounds and they called it off of his finger. And replay 5 minutes later showed he clearly did not touch it. And he is screaming at his bench to challenge it. And they didn't. And he was right and they were wrong. And I'm like, the guy's just been on the floor for 20 years. He knows what he's doing, you know? So anyway, yeah, that's going to be great. So yeah. So as we record this, of course, we record it on a Monday morning. So by the time you hear this podcast, Miami and Boston will have played game 4. So that's going to be interesting. And then, that's the other one that I watched. Of course, Oklahoma City just beating up those poor Pelicans. They're out. They're out tonight. And then Lakers and Nuggets. Yep. That's another game 4, or excuse me, that's a game 5 tonight. So again, by the time you hear this podcast, it could all be over by the time you hear it. By the time you hear this podcast, the Lakers might be out. They might. So that's what's coming up in the next, you know, again, as you listen to this podcast, those games will have been played. So there's some interesting stuff going on out there, and it's getting serious now. It's getting down to like, okay, now we see what's going on here.
And I know that people that, you know, listen to the BJ and Bill show in Fort Myers, Florida, are still Florida Everblade fans when it comes to the ECHL and hockey. They're not looking good in their series. They are down 3-2. But then, you know, my new hometown, Orlando, the Solar Bears are up 3-2.
Right.
And of course, so it doesn't look like the Everblades are maybe going to pull off a three-peat when it comes to winning what they have in their division or their world of ECHL, which is called the Kelly Cup. Instead of the Stanley Cup, they know a guy named Kelly. And
instead of Mr. Stanley's Cup, they have Kelly's. Okay.
And they've won that 2 years in a row now. So congratulations. But it doesn't look like this is going to be a three-peat. Not the way they're playing this year.
And since we're talking hockey, and since we're talking games that will be played by the time you hear this, again, speaking of not looking so good, Tampa Bay Lightning down 1-3 to the Florida Panthers. So if you're a Florida hockey fan, you got something to cheer. And I mean, Florida in terms of the whole state, you got something to cheer for, either the Panthers or the Lightning. And that's quite the interesting rivalry over the years. They always seem to play in the first round. Lightning are down 1-3 and they don't. I've watched a couple of those games. They don't look sharp. And Vegas Golden Knights are up 2-1 on the Dallas Stars. And I mentioned that because that game is also Monday night as we record this podcast. So yeah, lots going on out there in the world. And yeah, I was kind of hoping for a Blades Solar Bear
playoff, as far as, it wouldn't have been for the Kelly Cup, but it would have still been,
Right.
Playoff games. I was kind of looking forward to that, but I don't think
And me
that's
up
going
here
to happen.
in Gainesville, how about Jacksonville?
Yeah, they're the ones that's beating up the Everblades. Thanks a lot very much.
Oh, really? Maybe I should see if there's well, I'm not going to be back in town for another 3 days. It'll probably be over by the time I'm back up in NCFL, as we say, North Central Florida.
So that's a look at sports. I'm Howard Cosell.
And I'm not. Thank you very much.
Did you ever work for, now early in my career, I actually worked at a couple of radio stations that I think it was 7:20 in the morning if you caught it live off the network, which back in those days, you usually caught those shows live on the network.
Right.
Howard Cosell Sports. I worked at a couple radio stations in Indiana that played Howard Cosell Sports.
Nice.
Did you ever play at one of those?
No, but I remember and not Al Michaels, because he's the NFL guy, but there was another Michaels, Sports Machine.
Yeah, I don't remember that one.
I'll have to look it up. And he was always, and I loved him because he was always the one that, after a blowout, if you had the Celtics in 24, you lose. So, I always loved those. And so I remember him. That was good stuff. Yeah.
And also who was on the ABC radio network was another big guy that was, heard everywhere practically. And I think I mentioned him earlier. Oh my gosh, Paul Harvey. And, he had the rest of the story.
Oh my God.
Paul Harvey, Paul Harvey News. Everybody listened to Paul Harvey back in the day.
Way before BJ and Bill, when I was in Phoenix, Arizona, I was on a news talk radio station, and we had all that. We had Paul Harvey. We had, everything. And then, boy, when was that? Wow. That had to be late 80s. I'm thinking it was late 80s. My memory doesn't work that well that far back. But then we had this news talk radio station, and we were number 2. There were 2 news talk radio stations in Phoenix. It was KTAR, the juggernaut, been around forever, and us, KFYI. And we discovered this little syndicated talk show by a guy named Rush Limbaugh. We just, let's try it. And the rest, as they say, is history. Yeah. So that our afternoon guy wasn't really happy about being replaced by Rush Limbaugh, but oh my God, the sales office was like, oh my God.
Yeah, but so you were in the beginning days. What was he? Obviously, because you were the number 2 station in Phoenix, which means if you were number 2, you kind of got the second choice of the litter. So that means when he was first starting, how long did it take him to become the Rush Limbaugh many of us know for in the ratings world?
He probably didn't have that kind of success while I was there at the radio station. I mean, he was, his rise was pretty quick, but in the beginning, he was like a lot of these guys. And Glenn Beck was like that. I remember Glenn Beck was on when we were in Fort Myers. Glenn Beck was on WINK AM, and I would listen to him driving home when you and I would do our shift. And they start out kind of okay, kind of normal, kind of like just bitching about politics or whatever. And then they seem like they go off the deep end. And it's like, oh my God, what? And the next thing you know, it sounds like Alex Jones. I mean, it's just, I don't know how that happens. Well, I do know how that happens. It's always, you just, what's the next outrageous thing you can say, and more and more and more outrageous and more crazy. And it's like, oh my gosh. So anyway, to answer your question, I really don't know how long it took Rush Limbaugh to become the superstar that he was, but he was on that radio station in Phoenix forever. So KFYI, 9:10 a.m. News every hour, bulletins at once on the talk station, 9:10 KFYI. Yes, I had to say that every hour on the hour. But there we go.
News as it happens.
We were that station. We were that all news, all talk radio station. And it was exciting because, we had a newsroom of 5 or 6 people, and yours truly started out as a weekend anchor. And then I got hired regular full time. I was the afternoon guy, which meant I took my little radio pack, because back then no cell phones yet. And I took my little, shortwave radio or ham radio or whatever the hell it was that fit in my car. And I would go out and report stories it was exciting. It was fun. So yeah, it was cool. And of course, Phoenix is the state capital. So you were rubbing elbows with the governor and all that stuff. So
when you talk about excitement, when I first got into the radio business, I worked at a little daytime AM station in Rensselaer, Indiana, WRIN.
Right.
It was owned by Bob Becker.
Well, you've got a memory.
And Indiana was the type of community that, tornadoes were big in the spring. A lot of tornadoes hitting now in the springtime, right, as the weather is warming up. I remember we had like one of those little mobile radios, one of those little CB. It wasn't a CB. It was kind of like some kind of mobile radio.
Yep. That's what I had. Yep.
And a tornado warning would be in existence, or we would get a report that a tornado was spotted somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Bob Becker was the guy who jumped in his little car and said, "Let me go find it." He was a storm chaser.
Wow.
And one time it was like a gigantic tornado that was coming through the area. And, I was like new in the business. I probably couldn't even put a sentence together, in a newsroom. I hey, this is Bobby Rydell and blah, 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 just getting started. Well, he said, "BJ, come with me. We're going to chase this tornado." Woo-hoo! And here we are chasing this tornado, man. It was like the most bizarre day of my entire life. And then, of course, it hit one of the cities, which was probably about 20 miles away. So after the tornado, we're going through that city. And then people are calling the radio station saying, "My Aunt Martha is at 2736 Aunt Martha Lane." And we would go knock on the door and we would report. This is how small market this was, though. And we'd say, "We just checked on Aunt Martha. Her house is standing and she is fine."
Wow. I mean, that's great radio. That's great radio. I mean, it is. You can't, to me, that's what radio was all about, being part of a local community. Now, I'm not going around knocking on doors, but I remember that even when you and I were doing, we're doing the Oldies 95 thing. We would have people on from in town. One day we've got this guy on from Naples or Cape Coral or North Fort Myers or whatever, and they're talking about their yard sale or their, whatever. We did that. And for us at the time, it worked and it was fun and it was interesting. And I don't hear that anymore, which is sad, but I get it. That's the way the business went. I get it.
Well, I told you also, that was also one of my first radio stations. But we also did, the swap shop,
Oh, yeah.
You got something to buy, sell, trade, give away? Give us a call right now. Blah, 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 blah. "Oh, there, this is Aunt Martha, and I have an old rocking chair that I'd like to sell." "All right, what's your number, Aunt Martha?" "It's 859-2727.
Right.
"Okay, we'll get that right on." Again, that's Martha. She has a rocking chair for sale. You can give her a call at blankety blank blank.
That's a little small time, but still, it's awesome. It's just it's people to people. It's great. It's great.
Yeah. So it was fun.
Yeah,
I didn't normally do that show, but every once in a while I would get to do it, and I thought that was like the coolest thing in the world.
When I was in Fort Myers, this was not BJ and Bill, but it was during that same time, I think. I did a cable TV show where we would sell, the gift certificates for the local restaurants. And I'm sure that the local restaurants, bought their advertising with gift certificates, and then we would sell those gift certificates. And that's how the cable company made their money. And yeah, but I think there's some video of Bill Stevens doing that a long, long time ago.
I don't know if there's any, I know there's not a video back then, but when I first went to Naples, I was at FM 98, which is now WSGL at 103.7 or 104.7, whatever it is.
Right.
And, they did the Wheeler Dealer show. It was the same thing.
Was it Jack Wheeler?
No, it wasn't Jack Wheeler, but it
Okay.
was called the Wheeler Dealer Show. And we did it down there in Naples, and we do the same thing. I've got a $25 gift certificate to Bill's Crab Shack, and I'll sell it right now. And what was interesting, they'd always take a couple calls like, well, I'll give you $5 for that. No, well, let's see what else we can get. Maybe we'll be able to sell it for $5. Somebody else will go, well, I'll give you $7.50. And as soon as we got to like 50% or, half of what it was going to cost, then we say, okay, but then we go, and I have 5 more of these. So over the next 5 callers, we'll give away we'll give the $25 gift certificate.
Right.
And I remember what they did. They gave us their name and their last 2 digits of their phone number. And somehow they'd get to come in with their ID and give their telephone number and they could pick it up. So,
wow, that is oldies there.
Yeah.
That's old time there. Love that. That's awesome. All right.
And I think back then Naples was really a market, nowadays, and then we're talking about markets, like each city is kind of called a market, but now they've combined. So Naples and Fort Myers in Southwest Florida is one market.
Right.
It's all umbrellaed under, Southwest Florida market. But
Right.
back in the day, Naples was its own market. So you really dealt basically with Naples. And Naples when we first came to town, Naples was a relatively small community.
Relatively? It was minuscule. It was tiny. I remember talking to a lady who was in Naples back in the day, as they say. And she would say, yeah, I used to, walk my dog to this cafe or whatever down by the beach. And, I'd wear my bathrobe and slippers and walk into the cafe and they'd make me breakfast and put something out for the dog. And then I could walk home and it's like, oh my God. Yeah. Never again. But yeah, it was awesome. Those little tiny, I like that. And there's so little of that left in the world. And I don't know how you work that. I really like where you're at there. When you and I had lunch, a couple of weeks ago in Claremont there, I thought that was kind of a cool little small town. I mean, still a little touristy. I get it, but that's a cool small town. Even where I'm at, Gainesville is growing so fast that it's like, wow. Yeah. But whatever.
Now I remember, when I first came to Florida and Florida was growing, and it kind of became a joke town, unfortunately. But I think that had a lot to do with, when what was it? AIDS came, was it AIDS or what was it? Where they had that family that had some children in Arcadia and oh shoot, I can't remember the White family.
I don't remember.
It was even a TV movie and the town kind of shunned them because one of the kids had, I think it might've been AIDS. I can't remember at the time. But, I can't remember, but, and then, Arcadia became like a little joke town, in Florida, but really that was an awesome town to live in because I lived out there, for about a year and it was just fun. It was a small town. It was small town radio. And my wife says, you liked it so much because you were the big rock star there. Everybody loved you.
Which is true. You were the big fish in the tiny pond. That was you.
Yeah, that was cool. It was cool to be the big fish. Of course, BJ and Bill were always the big fish in Fort Myers too.
True.
So,
all right, Mr. Big Fish.
Time to take a fishy break.
Time to take a fishy break. I'm gonna go refill my little cup of coffee and then we will continue this. But do whatever you need to do. We will be right back. Welcome back. I'm Bill Stevens. That's BJ Odom, and we are, tripping down memory lane here. So if you're enjoying the podcast this morning, please feel free to stop by your favorite podcast outlet, Apple, Spotify, wherever, and leave us that 5-star review. We would appreciate it. You can find us on Facebook, of course. by doing a search for BJ and Bill podcast with spelling out the A-N-D, BJ and Bill podcast on Facebook. So there you go. But the 5-star review, the more important thing. So there you go. So boy, memory lane today. Wow. We're really reaching back into the history books.
You notice behind me?
Do
you see the little,
like the usual? I see a ukulele. I see your headshot, your comedy headshot. I see your Bubba's Place. That's about all I see.
That's not a ukulele, by the way.
Oh, it's not.
It's a mandolin.
A mandolin.
And
gotcha.
You know my daughter.
Okay.
A mandolin.
Oh, that's so cute. Your daughter's named for a musical instrument, a mandolin, which that's funny and cool and cute all at the same time. I never thought of that.
So now you see the size of that.
The mandolin, yes.
Yeah, I think down on the table below, which you really can't see, there's like a little Matchbox car.
Can't see it, but I'll take your word for it.
And it's a little GTO.
Little GTO. Oh, how many other musical cliches can you get into one room?
That's a car cliche.
Yes, I know it is.
The little GTO and the mandolin.
GTO.
So I was very saddened for my son.
Oh.
Because he just has a little Matchbox car you can barely see. And you see the big mandolin, hanging up there.
Oh, I see. So
this soon, I just bought it over the weekend.
Whoa.
So this soon we'll be going below the mandolin and I'll be hanging it up underneath the mandolin.
Wow. So for those who can't see it at home, which none of you can, is that a poster or what is it?
It's like a metal sign.
Oh, okay. Like a metal sign for a 1969 Pontiac GTO, The Judge, which was that from a movie too? No, that wasn't from Dukes of Hazzard. No, that was General Lee. Wow.
So yeah, I thought I would hang that underneath. Although it's the wrong year, it should be a 78.
For your son.
Yes.
Yeah, but in 1978, cars were crap. So stick with the 69. I think that's I like that idea better. Yeah. Cool.
I don't know if he would have I don't know if he'd like for me to tell this story, but I will anyway, just because fathers are made to embarrass sons.
Of course.
So my son originally, I was always known as BJ from a small child.
Right.
So he was first born and was known as GT.
Because it's Gentry. Yes, of course.
In fact, his grandfather on his mother's side would always call him JT. Hey, JT, come here, JT. But somewhere along the line, actually, when he was about in first grade, he wanted to be called Gentry. So he made the transition. But yeah, he was originally JT.
Does he still, like if you're in a room, will he still answer to GT?
Yeah, he will. And there's a few people still in my hometown that's known him since he was like a baby.
Right.
Like I said, of course, his grandfather has since passed, but the family, a lot of them still call him JT. And they were all Southern, so that's how they say it. JT, yeah. JT.
I'll remember that next time I see him. That's awesome.
Hey, JT. And then, of course, what's really funny, he was named because even back then, I got into radio, got out of music, but music was my passion from probably, junior high all the way till I was in my 20s. I was always playing in bands.
Mm-hmm.
And G.T. Peterson was a black drummer, which my father knew, through family ties that he had. And my first drum set, he came and helped set it up and helped tune it up and everything. So my son is also named after a black drummer. So
I love that.
So he still has a little musical tie like the mandolin under his name also.
All of that is awesome. That's really cool. That's really, I never had the experience of naming children, so I get it, but that's very cool. That's very cool.
Well, I'll be honest about my daughter. When, my wife first found out she was pregnant, I said, let's call her a mandolin. Then I can put her on my knee and play her like a fiddle. And she goes, oh, that's such a cute name. And so that was more or less like a little hee that
That
I
was
put out in the universe. And the wife fell in love with my little hee and said, "Oh, that's such a sweet name. We have a girl. Let's call her Amanda Lynn." And so
Does
that's
your
how
daughter know she was named on a musical joke?
oh yeah, because if she's heard the story many times and
Okay.
she knows that we have that Amanda Lynn, and
Yeah.
you know every time she gets a new boyfriend or anything, they're always in the house. I go, "See that up there?
Yep.
That's my little girl. That's my Amanda Lynn."
That's awesome. That's clever and
Yeah,
awesome and cool. Yeah.
that embarrasses her, but what the heck?
But that's your job, Dad.
No,
That's
no
your
kidding.
job at this point in life. Keep them humble.
Did you ever figure out what this AI companion was on Zoom?
I have not. No, haven't played with it. AI companion.
I hate to say this, not on Zoom, because I really have no idea what it is yet.
Right?
But I have been playing more and more, and I hate to admit it, but I will, people. This
Hear
old
it.
guy is enjoying AI.
I'll tell you, if you are any kind of a creative person or a writer or just need some ideas for something, it's awesome. It's scary good. So what are you playing with?
Well, I mentioned that I have a new podcast.
Right.
And you know me, I spell words wrong. You're always correcting me on my English. I don't know what I'm doing.
Are you telling me I'm being replaced by AI?
So what happens with my new podcast? We have to write a little description.
Right.
And I must say, Bill has picked up the bat and has been writing our little story or whatever you want to call it.
Show notes.
Yeah, show notes for every podcast where you can read and go, "Oh, this is what the boys are talking about today."
Mm-hmm.
Well, for the new podcast, I need to do this. So I write the original one that probably sucks like crazy. And I take it and I put it into AI and I say, "AI, make this more exciting and clever."
And it does.
Oh, yeah, it does. And I'm going, "Oh, my goodness. I look like I am a genius." So,
yeah.
Now, have you been doing that with ours?
No, but now that you mention it, good idea. But I've used it for a lot of things. I mean, I have used it like in my little online business and stuff like that, where I'm like, I need 5 or 10 bullet points, like little talking points about XYZ, and I mean, there's no hesitation. It just spits them out and they're pretty darn good. Now, sometimes you got to go back and look at them and, okay, maybe that's good. Maybe that's not, whatever. But yeah, it's scary good. It really is. It really is.
Of course.
I'm writing some stuff down here as we speak here.
Another thing that technology is dumbing us down more and more every day. I wouldn't doubt someday all we're going to have to do is think about what we want to write.
Probably.
And as we're thinking about it, the machine will penetrate our brain and just, "Oh my goodness, that's a nice little story that it wrote on my brainwave thoughts."
If Elon Musk has his way, yes, that will be happening very soon, because he's talking about brain implants and stuff. That's so scary that it's crazy, because I mean, you can write so many good science fiction stories about computers taking over the world, and that's kind of how it starts. That's, it's like people will think, "Oh, that'll be great. I'll be super smart." No, you won't. You'll be super controlled.
If people didn't even want a COVID shot, I can imagine how they're going to want a chip put in their brain.
Well, good point. And I don't have an answer for that. But it's all in how you sell it, right? I mean, we know this. We're in the radio business. We're in the marketing business. We know that. It's all how you sell it to people. And if you tell people it will make their life easier, or it will make them smarter, or if it, or whatever, people will volunteer for SHIT that you can't imagine because you've sold it to them as something they want, they need, that makes their life better or easier or whatever. So yeah, as they say, that's a slippery slope that you end up going down. And I don't know how that's going to end up. And I'm not sure I want to know, but it doesn't sound good. So anyway,
I hope they come up with a chip that makes me sexier.
I'm second in line for that one. If you if you do that, how would that work?
I don't know.
How would that work?
It sounds good. I'm gonna put this little chip in my brain, and all of a sudden, I become Rico Suave. I am so sexy. You just want to eat me.
So basically, it's going to brainwash the women around you that you
I don't know. Hey, could I put this little chip in your brain, and then all of a sudden I shall become sexy?
See, now why isn't Elon working on that?
Yeah.
Screw going to Mars. Come on. Anybody can do that. Let's talk about making PJ sexy.
I'm too sexy for this chip. Too sexy for this chip.
I think that's, again, I'm right behind you in line for that one. When that one happens, that's awesome.
Oh boy. Okay. Hey, when should you send an email, Bill Stevens?
What's that?
When should you send an important email?
I would think, is it a business email? First thing in the morning, 8:00 in the morning.
Is there what day is probably best?
Monday morning.
Nope.
No.
Monday morning, they have all those emails that came in over the weekend. People wanting to know stuff. Their mailbox is full on Monday morning.
No doubt.
Tuesday morning, 9:15 is when you want to send that email.
You got it down to the minute. Tuesday morning, 9:15 a.m. I'm writing that down.
You will get a quick email back.
Because they've had a day to clear out the spam from the weekend on Monday. Tuesday, they're kind of like, they're primed and ready to receive a new message. I don't know, whatever. But I am keeping that in mind because I send a lot of emails for my business and all that. So I think that's a great idea. Thank you for that.
Here you go. You should send emails at 9:15 Tuesday morning if you want someone to read them and reply quickly. A study showed most people respond to incoming emails in the order they arrive. Of course. Getting no more priority than emails from their boss or no matter who.
So you're saying if BJ Odom sends me an email and my boss, I don't have a boss. If my boss sends me an email and BJ Odom sends me an email, they get whoever comes in first is who I will pay attention to. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And, they did say, after a long weekend, their mailbox is going to be full. So you definitely don't want to do it and I thought Monday morning would be the best time. So I was with you until I read this little report.
Okay. I mean, honestly, that makes good sense. Sure. And I do a lot of email, like I said, for my business. So I guess I'll remember Tuesday morning at 9:15. 9:15. That gives somebody time to have their coffee, kind of wake up a little bit. It's not exactly 9:00 because there might be like a meeting scheduled or something. I mean, I'm sure there's a million factors that go into that. That's cool.
And what really makes me sad all these years, because, like us guys in the radio business, we like to send out emails and what we call air checks, which are, like recordings of our best of show, like when we sounded the best. I used to always send emails and air checks on Monday mornings.
No wonder you never got that great job.
I know. No wonder I was stuck in Fort Myers for most of my radio career. Never got to New York or LA or Chicago. No. You know why? Because I sent those emails on Monday morning.
If one little factoid of information would have changed the entire trajectory of BJ Odom's career. But nope, here we are.
Because I would have been at WNBC New York.
Right. When we were doing it, back in the day, that would have been cool.
Well, wait,
LA.
reword that. Reword that, please.
What's that?
Would you please reword that?
Back in the day?
No.
Oh,
When we were doing it. We didn't do it. We were friends and we were on the radio, but we never did it.
Oh, I see. See, my mind didn't even go there, you dirty old man. Jeez, oh whiz.
I just want people to know, yes, BJ and Bill have been friends for a long time, but we've never did it.
Not that kind of friends. No. Okay.
No benefits here.
Bro. Ah. You sure you don't have that chip in your brain? You're trying to be sexy now?
I might be. I don't know. But if I was, I want the chips so my boyfriend Peter Noone would like me again.
The callbacks are outrageous today. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. So to go back to our previous very heterosexual straight conversation, when you and I were working together, that would have been cool to work in a big city, a New York, a Chicago, LA, Miami, whatever. But nowadays, I mean, New York it's like that old movie with what's his name? Escape from New York with Kurt Russell. It's kind of coming true. It's kind of coming true that those places they're awful. I mean, again, I've not been there. I'm relying on the news media, God forbid, to show me pictures. But everybody, whether it's the right or the left, seems to agree that big cities, New York, LA, are just rat infested, other infested holes. So pass. I'm passing on the WNBC if they call me today and say, Bill, you want to come to New York? Hell no. I
always, as a young person.
Right.
And it probably was a little bit different then.
Oh, yeah.
But like, as I was graduating high school, I think I've said on this show, I got into radio, but my main goal was acting and theater. That's what I wanted to do.
Right.
My dreams and aspirations were to move to LA.
Oh, sure.
Who knows what my life would have been like if I would have. I would have been probably homeless and on the street going, just hire me to do anything at this point, please.
Well, homeless and on the streets in LA, you'd have lots of friends. Seems like most of LA is homeless and on the streets, but that's another story for another day. Yeah, I was not into the acting or the music or the whatever. I was thinking I was a little more into the sports. I mean, I'm into sports now because I have time to follow stuff. But I was more into it also when I was a young person. And I was thinking, you were talking about like career goals or something. Back when I was in school, I was thinking I was like a sports information director or something like that for a big university or something, some kind of sort of journalism, kind of sort of, press secretary. I don't even know what a sports information director does anymore, if they still do have that sort of thing. But that's where I was thinking. And that changed when I discovered radio. Oh, you mean I can sit in this little room and talk and they pay me? Wow.
Well, because of my medical conditions when I was younger, I pretty well knew that I was going to have to do something that you didn't have to exert yourself too much.
No manual labor for you.
Yeah.
No.
So radio seemed like a really good plan. But like I said, my true love would have been, and I was in high school plays and things like that. But yeah, theater is where television is where I really wanted to end up.
Of course.
But I wanted to be on a sitcom or a soap opera.
Interest. Yeah. Cool. Those careers they seem to me to be like, don't buy any ripe bananas, as they used to say. Those things come and go quickly. The fame comes and goes fast. But who knows? You might have been like the next Tim Allen or something like that, kind of comedy guy, comedian, actor, whatever, made a life for himself out of it. Who knows? It's a cool idea. And yeah, would have been awesome. But things took a different turn and here we are.
Yes. I'm a radio star, not a television star.
It's all good. It's all
good. I don't know. I don't have they should do a radio, like star, like Hollywood Walk of Stars. They should do a Radio Walk of Stars somewhere.
Well, I'm sure
Not that we would ever have
for a
gotten on
fact
it.
there's a Radio Hall of Fame. I think. Now that you say that, now that I say that, I'm not 100% sure. All right, I got to Google it. Keep talking. I got to Google Radio Hall of Fame.
Speaking of this, I'm not going to say who it was because I'm just going to leave him alone.
Right.
But I toured with a guy, and we toured like in Michigan. We did a couple Midwest tours together that was like about a month long.
Right.
And every time that he would introduce me, and I don't know where he got this or how he got this, but I actually then had people ask me about it. But he'd always say, this guy was, big morning radio star. He's in the Radio Hall of Fame. And he's been doing comedy across the country for, and open for blah, 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 blah. He goes, BJ, I never was in any radio hall. That's never been anywhere in my bio. Why does every night he introduces me saying I'm in the Radio Hall of Fame?
Nice.
So
nice.
People thought I was in the Radio Hall of Fame, and I don't even know if there is a Radio Hall of Fame.
There is the Museum of Broadcast Communications, and I believe it is in Chicago, and they have a very nice website, the Radio Hall of Fame, and I could probably click on their 2023 inductees. Was that
probably, yeah.
Classic?
That should be in by now. Yeah, the 2023
inductees. John, I kind of know that name. John DeBella from Philadelphia, WMGK Philadelphia. Jerry House, Nashville.
Yeah, I know that name. Yeah, I know
that name. Yeah. Pat St. John, Sirius XM. I have Sirius XM, and I don't remember that name. Bob Rivers. Bob Rivers Show. Shadow Stevens. We know him. I mean, we don't know him personally, but that name is absolutely familiar. Oh, and Nina Totenberg of NPR, for you NPR fan. I used to be an NPR fan. I'm not anymore. I'm that old. Deborah Parenti, publisher, Radio Inc., and Charles Warfield, broadcast executive. So there's some, okay, there you go. Radio Hall of Fame. Who knew?
Yeah. Why are we in it? Damn it. Someone talk to whoever someone talk to them now. Somebody call my Allstate agent and let's get us in.
The Allstate?
That's the only agent I got is my Allstate.
Oh, I see. I thought maybe we'd get that young kid who does those, like he's been doing State Farm commercials forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And it's like, okay, let's just get him. He's probably pretty good, but that's not the agent. I get it. We were thinking about an agent. I get it. Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, you threw me for a loop there, and I took it. You threw me a curveball, and I swung at it. Okay. Wow.
I don't know. Now, I would believe this.
Okay.
But now this is something that I don't eat it as much now that I'm older.
Try me, and we'll
wrap
up the show on this great idea today. What is this? Get
into my teeth every now and again.
What's that?
But a study found that we are still not eating enough nuts and seeds.
I love nuts and seeds. I mean, unfortunately, the ones I like are usually the roasted with salt on them, which are not the best for you. But
and the sugary honey stuff too. That's
I can draw. Yes, would I love them? Yes, when you go to the state fair and you get those. What are those? Those cinnamon roasted. Those are awesome. But yes, I get it. They do get a little nutty and seedy in your teeth and all of that, so you do have to be careful. So, but I'm all over that nut and seed thing.
Now, my son is big into almonds. He says it's a good source of protein. And
the nutritional gurus that I watch on YouTube, they've got to be experts, right? They're on YouTube. Do recommend almonds, and they're crazy expensive, but they're good for you. Macadamia nuts.
Oh, I like them.
Oh, so good. But yes, I'm on board with that.
Sunflower seeds are also good.
What's that?
Sunflower seeds are also good.
I don't know. It depends on who's talking on YouTube and whether I'm paying attention or not. That's all. So I don't know. But I'll take your word for it. So
the sesame seeds on a double bacon cheeseburger count?
They might.
They're seeds.
The problem
Says it
is
right there. Sesame seeds.
the double bacon cheeseburger part might be. Now, if you're just having the cheeseburger part, the burger with the cheese on it, that's totally in keeping with my keto diet. So I'm good with that. But when you start with, bread and all the other sauces and stuff that goes on it, now you pretty much have wiped out the nutritional value. But again,
I read this over the weekend.
Okay.
And I want to try it, but I don't know where I would buy it or whatever. I just saw it it was one of those Google News stories.
Mm-hmm.
There is a hamburger bun, has no sugar, and forget what else. I don't know what it could be, because it's a no carb, no sugar bun. What is it made of?
You could just fold up a piece of paper, maybe, or a napkin or something, and use that.
But it's got me interested. I wonder what it that's the big selling point, or what does it taste like? Is it edible,
Somebody on one of my Facebook diet discussion groups, Facebook group, mentioned that Publix in our neighborhood actually, Publix, big Florida grocery store, actually has a very good, not zero carb, but low carb bread. And I don't remember the name. I'm sorry. So maybe next week I'll remember the name for you. But I could try that. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good trying to keep the carbs down these days. So I'm kind of learning to live without the bread stuff and all of that. It's hard, but I'm kind of learning to live without the bread stuff.
Now, what do you think of wraps? Do they have a lot of carbs?
I'm more of an R&B guy, but wrap. You mean like with a W? I'm good with that.
I was going to go there, but I'm glad you beat me to it. I'm glad you presented the opportunity for a giggle. I like that.
Thank you. I'm okay with that. Sure. Again, I've seen the low carb versions of those. Yes. All good. So yeah, sure. Anything's possible. Sure.
All right.
Look at me. I haven't missed many meals. I mean, for those who've ever met me, that Bill hasn't missed many meals in his day. So
what you should do, you should eat healthy.
Wow. Try that again, Thanos. You're unfortunately, I hope maybe that'll come out on the recording, but he was trying his fancy evil genius button on his little gizmo there, and it didn't really come through 100%.
I was trying to scare you into eating healthy.
Oh, I see. Good. That works. That totally works. So eating healthy. All right. I think I'm going to go eat healthy breakfast now. I don't know what it is, but we'll find out. So
I should eat healthy, because I think we're going to head to Epcot here in a little bit, and I'm going to go see my bestie.
Peter Noone, tell him I said hi. If you get within 100 feet.
Hope I get to tell him hi.
All right. So remember, as young people say, if there are no pictures, it did not happen. So you better have some pictures for us. We'll look for them on the Facebook group.
Oh, okay. I'll put them up on Facebook.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen. That's going to wrap it for this
I'll
week.
have my wife take the ones of them hauling me off.
Escorting the old man in the wheelchair out. Off his scooter, rather. His scooter.
Well, that's another thing. I got that thing fully charged for the day, so I'll be zipping around, let me tell you.
Epcot Center, watch out. BJ Odom is coming. All right. All right, everybody. Have a great week. Eat healthy. Have fun. And we'll see you again next week. But until then, it's just up to BJ Odom to say,
see ya!